Hello, KLV Podcast listeners. Welcome back to HQ, where the team of KLV Weddings shares their thoughts on business, marketing, and more. I am your showrunner, Bryan. Let's get into it.
Okay.
We only got one.
You reformat?
Yes.
Reformat?
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Hello, welcome back to the KLV Podcast. I am
Kevin.
your host.
You're the host now.
I am your host, Meg. And we have a special guest today. G's finally back on the show.
All right. For this week.
For this week, yeah. We just go as we see fit. So, quarantine week number 3.
2.
2?
Yeah, this is the second week.
Is it? Okay. Number 2. So we're continuing forward, and in today's show, we're going to talk about 3 things photographers can focus on while in quarantine. So a big concern of ours as a company, like with our shooters, is like, hey, what you doing? How, like when we come back and shoot weddings, are we going to be ready? Because you mentioned that shooting is kind of like, if you don't do it, you can get rusty.
Yeah. Especially if you haven't done it for so long. I mean, I know I will be a little rusty, but not too rusty because I've been shooting for so long.
What does it mean to be rusty?
You're training your eye to, even communicating, because since you've been inside for so long, you're going to turn introverted. So now you have to now the world is bigger when you're going out to a wedding.
I see.
So now you have to bring out your customer service side, which I know some people may have a hard time if they've been indoors for so long, like myself, right? I have to find my language, how I speak with my couples. That's where I'll get rusty. Maybe a little bit of multitasking can be a little rusty, meaning that before you had you had everything down with speaking while directing while you're shooting, but then when you first go into it again after 6 months or just a month for me on our off season, right? I have to find that language again.
Oh, like after holiday, you're a little rusty, you feel?
Yeah.
I see.
Because you have to, your camera really well, but the thing that you don't know is you never met these clients or you haven't seen these clients in a while. So you have to kind of speak up, be at their level, try to get to know them using all your mental capacity and trying to know your client, although you haven't seen them in a while since the initial meeting, right? So
do you think when we come back that everybody's going to be like so, even though we're an introvert, but we're going to be so thirsty for like human contact that when you do go back and shoot, say, an engagement, that you're going to be all like, hi guys?
I don't think so.
No?
I mean, if people are smart, they still go out for walks. I mean, more than ever, they're probably communicating with their spouse, their girlfriend, whoever.
What if you don't have a girlfriend?
If you don't have anyone, then you're speaking with your family.
Yeah.
There's always,
I think it'll be different. I think just mentally knowing that, hey, it's over now.
Yeah.
And we're finally somewhat kind of back to normal. I think there'll be some sort of like a little excitement, a little adrenaline. Like
there will be definitely some excitement, but I feel like there's nothing to talk about, because what else are you going to say? You're going to basically say the same thing that
everybody
we all
else
experienced.
said. I see.
Yeah. We just stayed at home.
Oh, that would be cool. It's like in a
we
couple.
We waited in line at Costco for 3 hours. No, I'm just saying, like, people would say
something
the same
like that.
stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
So
I see what you're saying. Okay, so we actually have a list. I asked Chi to prepare a list of things, 3 things that primarily photographers, can focus on. We try to make this a little bit more photographer-centric. Okay. And then I have my list too, and we haven't told each other. So I think it'd be cool to go, you go, I go, you go, I go.
All right.
Okay, cool. So you go first.
So the first one is for photographers. It's important that your company still stays up to date with marketing. This is the perfect time for you to experiment. So I say, think of marketing strategies during this time. get familiar with other social platforms that are available, such as TikTok. So I've been seeing more photographers, more videographers getting into TikTok just for fun.
Yeah.
So they're testing out the platform. They're testing out their voice within that platform. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah. Great excuse to go and try.
So yeah, during this time, I definitely recommend. Even if there wasn't this COVID lockdown, I would still do the same thing. But this just gives you more forgiveness to experiment because no one cares at this point. So
well, okay, so you just said that, right? So something popped in my head when you were talking about this, like experimenting meaning like, let me try something cool or new, and then if it takes or if it doesn't take, right, I'm experimenting. So you just said everybody doesn't care.
I mean, they don't care as much at this point just because most of their mindset is on their job. They still work from home. Some people still work from home. But at the same time, they're not thinking about planning their wedding at this point because everything is in limbo.
Right.
No one is, there's probably people that are getting engaged at home, but they haven't announced it to their family or they haven't even jumpstart the planning process. So everything is on hold at this point.
Yeah. But not like nothing stopped. It's just on hold.
Nothing stopped. You'll get most brides that are engaged recently or got engaged prior to this lockdown. They're just, maybe they're not as worried for those that locked down a venue. Yeah. But it does give them time to breathe and
that's been my experience still meeting with clients currently. Like, they're just like, like this is crazy. But their wedding is like next year. Yeah. So they're not really, there's no worry.
There's no press for time.
Yeah.
There will be that worriness. Yeah. Later on. But as of right now, no one's really thinking about planning any events at this point. Right. Just because they're afraid of losing their deposit when they book a venue or losing on the vendors and the communication process to plan every vendor just to make sure they all have the same schedule. Yeah. In any case, they have to reschedule or postpone their wedding date. Yeah. So that's such a big headache. Yeah. That I don't think any couple want to go through it right now. So they're just putting all that wedding stuff aside.
Right. Yeah. Okay, cool.
But in a photographer standpoint, that's why I say it's the best time to experiment your type of marketing. Find your voice, find your new voice in marketing. What is it going to be, right? Yeah.
Yeah. We're definitely seeing that's always been the case. Like you said, that's always been the case to try to do something different anyway, virus or not, whatever, to see what you could bring to the table. Because everybody's going to market in this similar way as a photographer. I'm going to take a picture, I'm going to put it on social, and I'm going to say some cool stuff about it.
But now you have all the time in the world now that you're not shooting, but everyone's at the same page equally throughout the world.
So how would you do it differently?
So, I feel over the years you've been like addressing new tactics as in podcasting. But now starting of this year, you started the KLV Podcast, which is a new way.
Yeah, we've done skits. We do TikTok. I feel like they could be better.
They will be better over time. I feel it's just finding your right voice in TikTok and finding the right rhythm. At this point, you're just like trying to get rid of all those. I would say you're finding your voice in that platform.
And finding your voice meaning like how
your strategy,
like your
formula.
go-to.
Yeah.
Your go-to.
Your formula, a formula that everyone can meet in the middle and they like it and they can they can be consistent with it.
Like a formula that satisfies, it speaks from our brand, right? Like it's coming from us. So it's not like trying to bite off other things. Yeah. Or be too trendy or doesn't sound like us or feel like us or your brand basically.
Yeah. So not trying to show off, just stay in your own page. Stay in your own lane. collectively as a team.
Oh, being true to the brand, basically.
Yeah, just be true to yourself and what you're comfortable with doing.
Yeah.
Like, not trying to impress anyone. Just, you're not trying to impress to be funny. And if you're not funny, do something else. It doesn't have to be skits.
Right.
We're all finding that voice.
Yeah.
And it shows, like, the moment you upload it on TikTok, for example, it does show. Like, if you're not into it or you're not meant for it, no one's going to view it. Or you're going to see the trends of more views were more here.
Yeah.
But then there was something lacking here. And it just shows, right? Maybe someone is just a better performer in these videos and they were more natural versus someone like me. I'm not a performer. I'm not a comedian. I never do skits, right? So I have to kind of find a middle ground. I can always improve, but that's something I would probably do, is try to improve. But also strategizing, does skits do anything, right? Does it really help?
Yeah.
Does these skits really represent what we're doing? Or it's just poking fun of the bad things in our industry? I mean, the bad things within the photo industry, right? So sometimes that can be a little bit boring. I mean, a little dry, especially most of that age group on TikTok is not even at that age to get married. They're all young.
But they're going to.
They're going to get married probably in the next 20 years. But at this point, they won't get what the video is about until everyone hops on this platform. And you get
then they'll
a little
leave.
bit. Yeah, then they'll leave.
And all the old people like us will be on TikTok.
Then there's sort of like no point, right?
Right.
Because it's the same thing as Instagram. You got all the people present in Instagram right now within your age group, right? But the moment that those little kids leave, I mean, you're always, that's the chasing of this platform, this social media world.
Well, for now, we've hit a good spot where our leads do come from Instagram, and they are who we're looking for.
But surprisingly, it's funny because Facebook never worked for us.
No, it didn't.
The Facebook ads never worked for us.
Right.
But Instagram did.
Exactly.
And I was like quite surprised that Instagram.
But it makes sense, right? Because it's photocentric in its nativity, like Instagram's photocentric.
And I hope it stays that way. I mean, I hope it stays true to form, that no one will get bored of Instagram.
Maybe.
Because it's just photo related, right? Even though you can upload video and everything. It almost looks as if Instagram is taking over Yelp at this point. I'm just seeing the trend more, that
perhaps
the Yelp reviews are not really doing its job. I mean, it's just showing credibility, but I feel Yelp inquiries aren't as strong as Instagram
currently.
Yeah, just because
for us anyway.
Yelp inquiries, people that go through Yelp in our experience are people that are just local, and it almost looks like the wedding wire, what it used to be. So you're getting people from all over the place that don't really know your brand, don't really know you, haven't done the research enough.
Yeah.
So I feel now Yelp allows us to be true to who we are when we market ourselves. They follow us already. They know our tastes.
You mean Instagram?
Yeah, Instagram.
Yeah.
So it's not the same. You can't do that on Yelp. You can't really show who you are on Yelp. You only can show your photos, but that's just a little taste. They really don't know who the company is.
I think I can try to work with that. So you told me that, right? So this is how we actually operate. So this is kind of cool for people to see. So you'll tell me, and I'll let you talk, and you tell me, well, Yelp has this problem, which is really cool for me. And I go, cool. Like, what can I do with that issue? Can we show who we are on Yelp? I know that there are some limitations. It's not the same as Instagram, but since we have over 100 reviews on Yelp, I wouldn't want to just neglect it.
Of course. I mean, it's still the leading platform in inquiries. However, Instagram is being more effective.
It's up there.
Instagram gives us quality clients that actually bond with us, want us, and appreciate our work. Whereas Yelp, I mean, before, I feel Yelp was the Instagram because that's all.
Thanks, Siri.
Is there a way to turn off this?
Focusing?
Yeah.
Hopefully I'm in focus. Can you focus? Well, here. Wait.
Focus on the mic, right?
I'm trying to. Right here. I'm stay right here. Hopefully. Yeah.
Yeah.
Better? Okay.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, Yelp. It used to be what Instagram is today.
Yeah.
I think Facebook was never our thing. It's too complicated. It's too messy. Plus, you have all different.
It looks ugly too.
It looks really ugly. Nothing's presentable. There's no social engagement anymore, even on our business page. And it's just the old timers, or it's just my mom. So,
Yeah, your mom be blowing up Facebook.
Yeah. But I'm just saying, it's
a box to check.
Yeah, it's
That's
just
all
there.
it is for
it's
us.
just there. I remember at one point, you used to depend on Wedding Wire. You used to depend on The Knot. They were the yellow pages, the old school yellow pages for business. But even those platforms don't even bring anything in anymore.
Yeah. I feel like once we really started to hit it hard in stories and the way that we market, which is definitely the more, because you bring the work, right? You bring the great collection, and you don't really have to do much on your end. But then you have to still tell people about your work, and that's what marketing is. We're telling you how we got it, why we got it, like this. That's what marketing is. And yeah, so we've made that change, and then now we're what you just said, like Instagram is a lead generator for us. Yeah.
And I know TikTok can still be a lead generator because there is proof.
We have to find our voice.
And we just need to find our voice.
Yeah.
And I mean, a prime example, thankfully, our brother is doing really well on TikTok.
Yeah.
And he said he made it. He's able to make money, true value from his TikTok channel. And what's cool is that people want to follow him everywhere now. So he was able to make a huge impression on TikTok. Now his Instagram is blowing up. And now his YouTube channel is blowing up.
Personal branding.
So everything is pretty strong, consistent throughout the social media platform. So, it just shows us that it's possible. But for him, he's a performer. It's different. He does want to be on camera, and he has found his formula that works for him. And that just, I feel each person that hops on video, you have your own formula. You know how you act in front of the camera. I feel Bryan started to know how he acts in front of the camera.
Yeah, he's a natural.
And he's natural because he performs live already during his band and everything. For me, I always never like attention. I was always the person behind the camera. So that's something I just need to work on. As for the rest of the team, I believe they're natural as well. They're more extroverted, so it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
What's your?
Okay, yeah. So number 1, we have 3 to get. This is good though. I like everything. Number 1 for me is that I've really seen just between the two of us, and only very recently, even though we've been in quarantine for 2 weeks or whatever, is to really stop and appreciate what you have. I think as a photographer, like, you're always go, go, go. And even if you're not a company like us and you have people to manage and everything, I still remember what it was like before, when it was like when we weren't working as much. And it could be really similar to now where we're not working as much, and say you're just starting as a photographer. It's the same kind of thing, not working a lot, right? So you're really stopping and trying to appreciate what you have. Maybe you don't have the best gear, but you still have gear to shoot, right? Like we have B using his like lower end cameras to still execute the concept, right? So it's just really stop and appreciate. You've been saying that you've been able to relax guilt free without, because it's like the whole world has stopped. So cool, I could stop finally. So you've been a little bit more relaxed as well. Right. So, and I feel like
I've been really relaxed, actually.
good. And I feel like whenever we've had really great weather too. So every time I go bike with Nika or just take her for a walk, I'm like, yeah, all this stuff is going down right now, but like, oh man, it's like a really nice day. Or I don't know, like we're still in a good spot. So it was a good time to, even though you should do that anyway, you should still stop and appreciate. It's not, sometimes for people, I think it takes something like this to where you have to stop working or you cannot do anything else. You have to really stop and appreciate.
Well, it's hard for most 9-to-5ers because, you know, they're under a company and the company tells them what to do and they're locked in.
Yeah, but you know, that to me, it's bitch made. So if you're going to be like that passive about your life, and you can have every excuse in the world, like I'm a 9-to-5er or I'm an employee. To me, that's weak, just a weak mind. And you could work out your mind.
Yeah, they need to unravel something in their mindset, but I still feel I can get it. Like commuting, if I had a 9-to-5 commuting from here, I would have to wake up at 4:30 or 5.
I did it. I mean, I've been there.
Yeah, you've been there, but it was stressful. It takes a toll on your body. And by the time you're done with your job, you probably don't even want to do anything afterwards.
You don't. Yeah. Not at all.
So that's what really sucks. And that's what takes a toll on your body and not wanting to explore and appreciate anything because all you want to do is sleep.
Well, that's why. I mean, that's what I'm saying. So
how do you overcome that? If
you don't have the daily practice or discipline to appreciate what you have and slow down and relax a little bit and have a balance to your...
But how would a 9-to-5er relax after working?
Well, if you're listening to this is one of your signals.
Mm-hmm.
So another signal is you have pain in your body. Pain in your body is telling you, it's just a signal. It's just saying, hey, that you're doing too much of this. You don't have to stop completely, but you're just doing too much of this right now. So it could be like emotional pain or mental pain, like you're stressed out or you're anxious or whatever. Like what a lot of people do is they label it. They go, oh, I have ADD, or I'm anxious minded, or I'm fear based minded, or they put a label on it and they start to live and breathe that label.
But how does one stop and appreciate when they're in a 9-to-5 though?
It's just that. It's a switch in your mind. So something outside of you, say you listen to this podcast, for example, or any other type of media. Maybe you saw something, it says breathe, like on a social media post. Hey, reminding you all to breathe today. And you're like, oh yeah. Or it's your Apple Watch saying breathe. It's up to you to because every time there's always a hand ready to help you. There's always a hand if you look and listen. And it's up to you to just take it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a really simple act, but then slowly it'll start to, if you just keep taking the hand every day, or maybe it's like your watch telling you to breathe every hour, like that's on you.
So let's run through an exercise. Do you have a formula that you can help these 9-to-5ers overcome that? Yeah,
it's just about building momentum and not getting like, and you could really take it to anything. So, and I've been there for sure. Once you have this sort of signal, it could be pain or you're anxious or whatever, you have a signal and you're like, and the default mode is to just revel in that and go that way. Like, fuck this, pain, whatever, or anxious or 9-to-5 commuting, blah, blah, blah. Like you could keep going down that road. And so the way to interrupt that is to just do one thing different. Mm-hmm. Think about it different. Think different. That's Apple's thing, right? Think different. So, and then next time, just do it again. Just do something different. And then little by little tiny dominoes start to fall until you start to pick up momentum. The problem is, and like I've been through that before, is like, for example, working out, I would try to push over the biggest domino that I could, make the biggest change, be drastic, change everything. And I would always fail. And I get bad, get injured again. And I'd be like, fuck this, pain. I'm just going to, This is what my life is. So other than that, I was just going, okay, what if I just do a little bit every day? I don't have to sweat, or I don't have to use anybody else's parameter for success or for getting better or healing or not being. I'm gonna just do my thing, and little things that I know I can handle. I'll be like, oh, like for the 9-to-5er who's commuting, I could keep complaining, or I could be like, well, maybe I could like better myself during this time. To me, I talked to myself when I commuted, and that was cool for me. Or it's a podcast, right? So it's just doing something different each time. And then little by little, all these little dominoes start to fall, and you create momentum. So now, like, for example, like working out for me is like, oh, I did a little bit, and now I'm kicking and punching. I don't have any pain.
So this could be applied to photographers, right?
Sure.
Yeah. So what are your tips for photographers during this time?
Well, I just shared one, so I think it's your turn.
I mean, we're still talking about the same thing, aren't we?
Well, my first one was really stop and appreciate what you have.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so
All
now
right.
it's your turn.
So my other one is sharpen your eye by shooting indoors, using objects in your home to create artistic angles. So it doesn't matter how small your home is. You're going to run into similar situations, and just speaking in a wedding photographer's standpoint is, you're always, I would say most of the time, nothing is always handed to you in wedding photography. Like nothing ever goes the way you want it to go.
Nothing's
on
perfect.
the day of.
Yeah.
And sometimes you're just stuck in a small room and you have to work with it.
No light.
Or no light. So I say sharpen your eyes during this time. I don't even know how long this thing is going to last. It could be about 2 months to even 6 months or whenever the vaccine is released, 18 months, all the way up until next October. You just don't know. But at this time, what you can do is you can be the most amazing photographer
Indoors.
It's time to pick up those flash.
It's easy outside, motherfucker.
Yeah, it's time to pick up that flash and really know it.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
Know the inside out. Read the manual script. Even though it bores you, it's going to hurt your brain.
Yeah.
But pick it up, learn it really well. Know all your angles, so by the time you do have a wedding, you're going to be able to master that thing. You're able
ready.
to work more efficiently as well.
Yes.
And know your go-to plans. Think of a formula that works for you when you're picking up your flash. So my second tip is, again, sharpen your skills. Know your camera. Know how to shoot indoors when there's less light, as well as use the creative objects around your home that you use to decorate with. See if you can create something artistic.
Yeah.
And you'll be surprised that there's multiple sides to one area.
Yes.
Like there's more than enough angles to shoot in one area. So when people come out, like when we do shoot weddings, right? Some of our photographers say, how do you find that? Like, how do you even think of that? Because you have to be, as a photographer, and the way I like kind of notice within myself when I photograph is I always kind of picture there's 3 of me. Where would my second me be? Where's my third me be? And where's my fourth me be, right? I'm always thinking about where I could be in this area.
Cool.
Right? There's multiple me's. So what multiple me's can capture? So sharpen your skill.
Yeah.
There's definitely a lot to learn during this time, and there's no reason to sit down and do nothing.
Yeah. I did make a note of that, so I'll leave that because that's my number 3. Okay, number 2 for me. Do all the things that you've been putting off, aka learning Flash. I was thinking as you were explaining that, pick up that flash, right? You were saying for those photographers, and we've run into a lot of them, not just people on the team, who would say, I'm not comfortable with flash. And I'm like, well, why? If you have X amount of years, why didn't you not learn? I think maybe sometimes like I was talking about the label, like people get so attached to their own little labels. They're like, oh, I'm not comfortable with flash. And when they tell themselves that, they like, for some reason, keep believing it too. Maybe they go to workshops, maybe they read a book, and they still, because they haven't done it themselves, they haven't gone through the motions and really lived it, like in a wedding day where you had to move your flash head all around crazy and like you nailed it perhaps. Like they get so attached to this, I'm not comfortable using flash.
I say that's where the biggest flaw in going to workshops. I know for workshop, it's a good stepping stone to have when you first start out, but as the years progress and you become more skilled in your craft, workshops just become more of a social gathering than it is to learn. So I say that's where you have to kind of just break your habit from attending these workshops and really do most of the experimenting on opening your own workshop for yourself. Yeah, it can just be your team or whoever your go-to buddies and just master your own creativity. Versus, you know, going out and just socializing and I don't know if you're going to learn anything. I mean, I could be wrong. You may learn something, but then whatever you learn, you're going to feel constrained to whatever you learn. That is it. That's the Bible right there.
Right.
And you're not going to even want to experiment outside of that Bible.
You know what I heard and learned when I used to try to put on workshops of my own, unrelated to photography. Also, I mean, in addition to photography workshops as well, is that if somebody learns one thing, like a workshop will be chock full of good shit, right? But if you learned one thing as a participant, you would often think, oh yeah, like I got it.
Yeah.
They would tell themselves like, oh, I got it, you know, and then they go back to this weird sort of cycle and they keep like you were saying, treating workshops as a social event, or like just taking advantage of like, hey, they're putting this thing on.
Yeah.
And even if people pay for it too, they still treating it like a social event and feel like they're learning.
Yeah.
But not really actually learning. And I learned this.
Learning.
Exactly. I learned this when I tried to do little workshops and everything, and kind of really didn't matter what people were paying. It is like, does the participant feel cool and feel like they're doing something?
It makes them feel important. It makes them feel like
I'm with the tribe, or I'm with this, you know, I'm doing it too.
Or they feel like they're putting in time for their business.
Yeah. At least like in the back of the mind, they don't really say this to themselves, but I went to that workshop. For example, me going to the roasting thing, I'm like, oh, I'm doing what I'm supposed to do, right? Did I really learn and master my craft with this workshop? No, it's going to take years and real experimental work and real putting in the time and energy to roast on my own based off some of the things that I learned there. But did I retain like 100%? No.
It's hard to retain 100% during a workshop. It's a lot of stuff.
It's a little divot in this whole world of this thing that you're talking about, photography, right?
Yeah.
Right. So, yeah.
And you can only share so much because within wedding photography, there's so many segments.
Yeah.
And in each segment, in each little part of the day is like a textbook.
Yes.
Yeah. So for those that shoot will understand, it is like a textbook. If you were able to break down your train of thought and teach someone else, it will become like a textbook.
Yeah.
And the mental capacity for you to get through in teaching someone, it's hard.
It's really
because
hard.
you're not you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like trying to freaking write on a whiteboard or a chalkboard your supercomputer brain. Your brain is a supercomputer, even more advanced than computers, right? Because it's lightning fast. I mean, if you're sharp. And like you're trying to break all these little neuro connections down and then like put it in this fucking book right here. Here's the book. You got it? It's crazy.
That's why it comes down to like math and why math is so easy. Because it's based on formulas.
You know what? I was editing your training videos.
Yeah.
And I made a little joke in the training video because you were like, 45-degree from the, if you go closer. And then I was like, oh my God. And then I just put it to subtext because math. You'll see it. You'll see it later when I post it in the group.
Well, I'm just saying that's
math,
why math is there, you know, because math is easy to follow. If you kind of think about it, it's straightforward as long as you know
if this, then that.
Yeah. If you know that formula, apply it.
Yeah.
Whereas you as a teacher trying to teach your hobby that was once a hobby, or to teach the way you do things,
your passion.
Yeah, your passion, your train of thought.
Yeah.
That's very hard. There's probably little bits of math in it, but your train of thought is your train of thought. It's unique to that person, and for you to tell it upon someone else, someone's going to interpret it differently.
Exactly.
Yeah. And
it's tough.
Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah.
So that's why I say it's going to be like a textbook when you're trying to teach someone.
Well, we do the best we can, don't we? Yeah, we do the best we can. I mean, I just learned how to cut your hair on YouTube, so and I know it's going to take years to actually really get it down, you know? But like, I don't know. I think that's also the fun in life. It's like, cool, I'm not a master immediately.
Yeah, but then you didn't read textbooks.
No.
You didn't even watch. I mean, you watch videos just for basic foundation.
Yeah.
But the rest is really up to you to make mistakes on my hair to the point that
I have a passion that I want to do it right.
Yeah, you want to do it right.
That's
I'm just saying, which you did do some mistakes, right? But over time, you were able to go back and fix it.
I see what you're saying there. And it's all based on, just like a photographer. If I go and you look for the dark spots on the hair, I'll hear something that speaks to me. Look for the dark spots on the hair. Or for you, it's like paint a window, that your little sayings. And then for whatever reason, for whoever's receiving that information, they go, oh, I see. They got to hear it, like it's got to speak their language, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, that's my number 2.
That's your number 2.
Number 3.
My number 3. So stay active in emailing your clients to reassure them that your staff is staying healthy and they're ready to go.
I did it.
Keeping your team sharp through online training and team building exercises.
Yes, yeah, we're doing that now.
So we're currently doing that. It's very important to you're a business, right? And just like any other business out there, they don't want it to see it disappear out thin air.
Yeah.
They clients that invested into you, which ready booked your date, ready put down their deposit, they want to still see you up and running. They don't want to see, oh shoot, is this business is it still going to be a thing?
Where's my money?
Yeah, where's my money? So always reassure your clients.
Yeah.
Make sure that you're staying healthy, active, indoors. And your team is also staying active. So showing more of your team on your social media feed to make sure that they know, the same team is still here. They're still going to take care of you by the time your wedding comes around.
Yeah, solidarity.
Yeah.
Resilience.
And team building is more important than ever during this time.
Yeah.
Just because you want to make them feel secure. You want to make them feel that there's still a responsibility that as team leaders, we want to make sure you still stay sharp, that you have something to do during this time off, especially if it's the only thing that you do. And team exercises always want to make the team participate. That way they can bond together. Because if they lose that bond, then it's going to feel different. Someone's going to leave. Someone's going to feel isolated,
uncared for.
So
yeah,
yeah,
attention, right? We all do want attention, for sure. Okay, my number 3. Still find a way to keep your mind working. So, to me, it's like they can take away your equipment as a photographer, right? They can take away your equipment. They can take away this and that. But if you keep your mind sharp and working during this time, you will not have lost so much, right? So in this time, like say you're not shooting a lot, or maybe even some clients canceled on you or something like that, you can put your mind to work. You can be like, say somebody canceled on you. You could be like, well, why? What's the reason why? We haven't had any cancellations. Why? I think a big reason is because we have a great team, and I show our clients we have a great team. I tell them why we're great, right? So same thing with any type of marketing. And you're trying to, maybe you're a newbie photographer, and maybe you just started last year or something, or even this year. You need to tell them why you're good. You can't just put your work out. That's great. That should be number 1. You have good work, right? Number 2, you need to tell people that it's good. And then how you go about doing that is the game of marketing. And you could do that in so many ways, so much in fact that people often get frozen where they don't know how to market themselves. They're like, well, there's so many ways, and they just, pick one. Just pick one that's really easy for you. Like for Chi, if if you're maybe not so comfortable in front of the camera, you don't need to do that. You could put text over images. You can make slideshows where you never ever have to be on camera. And if you're a good storyteller with your images, maybe you shoot like us and you're cinematic with your photos, you could still tell a story. You could still tell the story of how somebody found you or whatever, right? So like definitely your mind is your best tool. And as long as you have your mind, and your body too, I guess, because you're a photographer, but everything starts from the mind, right? So if you have a sharp mind and you keep your mind working, and it doesn't always have to be work every day. Like I said, you need to really stop and appreciate what you have, relax a little bit. For me, for example, it's reading, or it's reading outside of my industry, and what can I bring back to home base, to KLV home base, and how could we use that in our voice or true to our brand and things like that.
And which we are doing by reading, by Simon Sinek's books.
Always reading. Yeah.
A lot of great ideas to apply, because in general, it's a business, and business all have a foundation where they start from, and they're all similar. We're just in different industries.
Yeah.
And it's all the same.
Yeah.
But yeah, staying active with your mind, do different things, even hobbies. That means like going outdoors, do different things that, and you have this time, right? So take advantage to learn new things
and document it. I mean, if you got a nice camera, you can document, you can show that side of you. You could be like, and that's another way that you could connect with potential clients. We do that all the time. Like, we just show who we are. And that's what it means to have a personal brand. You can have a very polished personal brand, or you can have a very loose and maybe like lewd personal brand. But whatever it is, make sure it's authentic to you, who you are. That way, when you show up from every touch point with the client, you are you. And they're like, cool, I can trust you, because you're you. Every time you say who you say you are, I get that, and that intuitively means trust. You're like, cool, like you are who you say you are. I'm going to give you my money. I trust you with my money. And the more that people pay you, that means the more they trust you. If you think about it, it's like if you put out this image and this brand and this message, and you say this is who you are, and they're willing to pay you for that, that means all those little points that you put out are check marks for this client. That's powerful. So if you know that, and maybe you're not charging a lot right now, or maybe you're not charging a point to support yourself fully with photography or something like this. We have a lot of freelance photographers out there who are just doing it part-time. If you wanted to make it full-time, that's what you need to do. That's the big picture in your marketing, is like, how do I get somebody to trust me on all the touch points that I have with my client? And if I can do that, that means they're going to pay that price that I put out, because everything matches up. Nothing's weird or inconsistent, or like, oh, I don't really feel cool about that, or I don't really feel cool about that. So they start asking questions. When they start asking you questions, that's your signal. It's not a bad thing. That's your signal to go, oh, cool, that's a question I have not answered. Right. So that's what I do for KLV. All these little things that I hear, like, that's my job to bridge the gap and stuff. I'll hear your question. That means I need to answer it somewhere. I need to answer it in the marketing or the system or whatever. So that's something for you guys to think about, and hopefully it helps.
Yeah. All right.
Any other things?
No, that's it.
All right, that's our show today. Actually, I filmed a show by myself yesterday. It was number 12. And so this one's actually number 13 because I labeled it wrong. But yeah. So we'll catch you next time here
At KLV Podcast.
Yep. See you next time.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the KLV Podcast. Learn more about us at kevinlavouweddings.com or on Instagram at kevinlavou at KLV Podcast. You can rate and review us on iTunes and watch us on YouTube. Join us next time, sharing more of our experiences and lessons.